I call this public meeting of the Eagle Mountain Saginaw Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present and that this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. Did we have anybody sign up to speak today? We did not. All right, then we will move on to our athletic department annual report. Ms. Rucker.
Okay. Oh, there you go. All right. Oh, now we're moving fast. I don't think this is right, but let me see. Do you see that little white box in there?
Yes.
Mr. Murdoch, can you get that white box out of there? Thank you. Ms. Ring, Dr. Chadwell, board, welcome. It's a beautiful day. It is pretty in here at daylight, so anyway. We are ready. Okay, so we have an athletic mission. EMSIT Athletics inspires champions today and prepares students leaders for their future by fostering an environment for the pursuit of excellence and enables student athletes to achieve their highest academic, athletic, and personal aspirations. And so as we go through this quickly, we already recognized our state champions at Saginaw, state runners-up at Saginaw, more state runner-up, including a power lifter there. Like I told our coaches the other day in our meetings, blue is always Boswell, red or cardinal red is Saginaw, and purple is Chisholm. So those are our state qualifiers in a lot of events. So I'm going to quickly go through those. Boswell team district champions. We had 6 of those, and we'll talk a little bit about them as we see those that advance. But these are our team district champions throughout the district as well. Those are our individual champions. Those that were in swimming and diving and tennis and gymnastics and track and field, all those are individuals. Chisholm Trail District Individual Champions, Saginaw District Individual Champions, Regional Champions pictured there. Area champions now in track. We only have area meets in track. All the other sports do not have area meets. We also have, and this first time we put in a slide like this, team champions. We have some gymnastics that actually travel to the National Gymnastics Association Championships in New Orleans. They've been in Orlando through the years, and so our gymnastics do a great job of promoting their kids at a national level. We did list all of our superlatives. Those are all district kiddos that were setters of the year, offensive players of the year, blockers of the year, not necessarily just all district players, but the superlatives. Coaching honors, we had 4. 3 were individuals, and then of course the Boswell volleyball coaching staff was named the coaches of the year. Those that advanced into playoffs, those that had really good seasons. Obviously the Boswell volleyball went all the way to the regional finals and are projected to be even better, I heard, this year. And so I know our volleyball coaches and players are excited about the season. Saginaw volleyball had another great season and advanced to the 3rd round. Same thing with Chisholm Trail boys basketball. And our Boswell program, Boswell softball program, advanced to the regional quarterfinals. You know, in Texas, 4 advanced to the playoffs. So we listed all the teams that were in the playoffs at Boswell, Chisholm, and at Saginaw. All right. So those are all the teams that achieved greatness throughout the year last year. You know, you can sign these days any day of the week, whether it be NCAA, NAI, or junior college, but we still choose to recognize all of our kids in February. Like the old times, the first Wednesday in February for signing day. And so those top pictures are the first time we sign kids. And at the end of the year, we pick up any kids that sign late. And so we had a total of 56 kids and 15 Division I kids. And so it's always a great day, and we always invite you to signing day because you have a packed gym and a lot of kids getting recognized for their efforts. And as I told the middle school coaches the other day, or things like that, is that they are actually involved and know a lot of these kids, and they have a big part of where they started of their athletic career, and of course it finished up by signing a scholarship. So we do have athletics at the middle school level, obviously, and we are part of a Big Five. When we say Big Five, it's because it's actually 5 counties. So we have a number of teams in our conferences. Coach Avencham will take over for Mr. Griffin as the conference chairman of the Big Five, and so he's excited about that, doing a fine job there. And wanted to at least show you, each year we take a lot of pride in marketing and promoting athletics and promoting our coaches and all of our teams. And so we did make the decision to choose from the website we used in the past, which was SID Help, to a different website that actually goes with Rank 1, and it's a Texas company. And so that was this year. And then we still have athletes of the week, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff we do. We did this year. It was the Mod Pizza Coach of the Month. So each month, one day of the week, we went around to each school and recognized a coach, took a picture of them, wrote a little article about it, and got a free pizza for it. And so that was a big hit, and we are considering starting that at the middle school level. And then at the to close, we started this year as we've got 2 new assistant athletic directors. Coach Ab did a head coaches academy. We are extremely excited about high school number 4 opening up, and believe that some of our coaches within the district may be hired as a head coach, that may be an assistant or a head coach at other campuses in our school. And so Coach Ab did, I guess, 3 or 4 sessions maybe as a head coaches academy, and then Coach Levitt will conduct a new coaches academy soon that will last throughout the fall to try to just assist new and young coaches in preparing themselves not only in the classroom but also handling parents, practices, games, etc. So we're excited about that. We did want to recognize our athletic trainers and know how hard they work, and just wanted you all to see how many they treat throughout the year in the athletic training room. We are expanding our athletic partnerships and constantly doing that. And then we are again using online ticketing, but we will always have tickets and always sell tickets at all of our events as well. And then last but not least, again, we have at each one of our cafeterias a interactive Touch Pro that is the history of Eagle Mountain Saginaw. We do have a person, he's not working currently at this right now, but that constantly adds names and is out there trying to talk with people about pictures and trying to get pictures and names of teams that go way back. And so that's our office, and then those are our pictures. So do you have any questions or comments? I know that we went over that a little bit quick, but I don't want to field any ones. And we've got John Avencham with us tonight, Coach Levitt with us tonight, so they're here to answer any questions. And then we also have, as the season's beginning, something for you all. And so we'll hand those out, and know that we will see you all at many of our events throughout the year, and looking forward to seeing you there in these gifts.
Presents.
Well, thank you. That looks totally like you did it. Is this our first year to do the academies?
It is.
I like that.
It is.
Thank you.
We are getting
Thank you.
more and more coaches every year and more new coaches every year. So we're trying to do everything we can to prepare them, and then hopefully continue working a second year and a third year, 4th year, 5th year, and things like that.
All right. Were there any other questions?
Nope.
Thank you for the
Thank
update. All right. Moving on to our annual communications report. Ms. Overman.
Good evening. How is everyone tonight?
Great.
Good, good. So we're here to share a little bit about, we're going to kind of just keep going from what Brent talked about and talking about our communications and marketing efforts here and the work that we've been doing this past year to show EMS proud in action. So first, in our department, we start by making connections, and I always want to start this presentation by showing that the work that we do is directly aligned with the strategic plan of the district. That was intentionally designed. I know in past Aspire reports, Dr. Parker would talk about that, and this just shows the connection between the brand, our brand pillars on the right of your screen in world-class educators, personalized opportunities, and family culture, and the connections that those align with in the pillars of excellence in Aspire 2025. So there's definite connection there, and we talk about that in our staff meetings every week on how we are connecting to the work of the district on a broader scale. Within our work, we also talk a lot about the EMS ISD experience. We're about creating, cultivating, and connecting those things for our different stakeholders, different audiences that we represent. So that is also top of mind as part of our brand work in our brand pillars and our community brand message. Our departmental focus, this is kind of a big breakdown of all the different areas of work that we dabble into, if you will, all centered on a strategic communications focus, all with the goal towards community understanding and engagement of the district, what we do, why we do it, why we're here, and how we work together as a community to educate the future. This is your communications team. You've seen them around. Pretty proud of this group. It's an award-winning communications team, which I'll share with you towards the end of this presentation, but these are some names to faces. And as we are all the time, we're out and about everywhere, same tonight. So we have Chris with us tonight, Chris Hill, she's back with us, but we have others that are dispersed everywhere else. And so keep them in their thoughts. They're kind of glad they're not sitting in a board meeting, but they're out doing the work of the district. So we're proud to have them. And of course we have Ms. Sheila Irwin. She's our department mom, and she keeps us in line, and we're proud to have her as our administrative assistant in our team. So we start with engagement. The foundation of engagement is about active listening and two-way conversation. We have multiple ways that we do that. One of our core methods that we use is Let's Talk. It's been in our district for a long time, and I want to break that down a little bit. On your screen, you can see some of the statistics there. In 2022, 2023, across the district, so it's all campuses and the district, we had over 1,300 dialogues that were submitted. If you'll look down to the customer frequency, most of those, 87% of those, were the first-time dialogue. So we're still getting new people using the tool, and then we're also getting some that are starting to reuse the tool. We definitely have people that have found the value in it, and we hear from them on a regular basis, and we're glad that they use that tool to help streamline that customer service and that communication. Our CX score, which is our customer service score, is 8.9. Across the entire K-12 network, the median is 8.4, so we are above that. We're one of their flagship districts, so when they go and talk to other districts about how to implement at the school level and how to manage a Let's Talk, they talk about us, which is kind of fun to say that we get to do that. Our dialogue age is 1.3 days, so we're just over a day. Most of them are over 2 days, so we're still beating them in that regard as well. The majority of our folks are parents, and you'll see that our feedback scores in that green circle, you want to see the green. Our feedback scores are really, really good. 88% are at a 7 to 10, which 10 is the highest. So we really value the Let's Talk system and the ability for our customers, whether they're employees, whether they're parents, whether they're community members that don't have any connection to our school, they can always reach somebody through that Let's Talk system, and we're going to work to get them the answers that they need. Another form of engagement that we use for active listening and two-way conversation is our social media. You'll see we have our Facebook and our Instagram. We're starting to see a little bit of decline on Twitter, and that's more of an industry thing, not a district thing. So we're really turning our focus more towards our Facebook group, which is primarily our parent group, and our Instagram group, which is also a growing number of parents. And you're also starting to see more organizations, as well as some students that are still on Instagram. So these are pictures of some of our top posts from the year. You put Liz Hatley and Carla Hardy on a post and you're going to get high numbers. So, those were two of those. And then if you tell them school's closed, they like that too. So these were some of our high highest reach posts that we had over the past year, but we had several others. It was kind of hard to choose which ones to put out there. Again, I'll call your attention to that circle, the green. You want to see the green. The green means positive. The gray is neutral. So that's like a school closed post or something like that. And you'll see that very small red section. Those things are a big headache, but if you look in the scheme of things, they're very, very small compared to what we deal with on social media all the time. So we're pretty proud of the social media. We're also starting to change our voice and evolve a little bit on social media as a district, and so you're going to see more opportunities for engagement there as well. More engagement comes in our marketing and promotion. Our EMS Proud magazine continues to go strong. We just launched, right after the July 4th break, we just launched our digital summer issue. That's the one with the cute little baseball player on the front there from one of our summer camps that we had. So that is online and available for view now. Got lots of great back to school information in it. Plus we also have our printed version, and we're moving to a partnership with 287 North Living Magazine to help us with printing on that. And so we're excited about that because it's going to allow us to expand our reach. So instead of just, mailing it to people that we know and putting it in our schools and hoping people pick it up, we're actually going to be mailing it to homes across the district in two of our largest zip codes. So more people are going to have access to that resource. So we're pretty excited about that. We also have our district website that continues to be a key piece of our marketing and promotion strategy, as well as some special purpose publications. We do partnerships with our departments to help them with flyers and promotion of events and campaigns and things that they have. And so there's just a list of a few of those there. Video storytelling, this is where Chris Hill comes in. She does a fantastic job with our video messaging that we put out there. We have several campaigns that are continuing. Dr. Chadwell Learns, our On Location, those are pretty popular. I really wanted to put a picture of Dr. Chadwell actually learning stepping, but he's shaking his head no, so I made the right call. I really also wanted to showcase the PV Steppers shirt because it's kind of a cool shirt. So we're proud of them and thankful that they let us come over and showcase them as part of our Dr. Chadwell Learns. But we've had the opportunity through those two different types of campaigns to showcase a lot of our different programs, as well as student achievements. You see Xavier's Choices was on there that showcased our personalized opportunities. You guys got to see that as part of an inspirational video that we shared here in the board meeting. So we're excited about expanding and continue to work on our video storytelling. And our total subscribers numbers is going up, and so we're seeing a lot of good feedback from that. Community outreach and special events is another area. We spend a lot of time doing that. We start right before we start leading up into convocation, and we don't stop until June. We take one little short break and then we're right back into it again. And so we're about to kick off with convocation and our community business fair, and we will move right on into the fall. This is an opportunity for us when we're out in the community to get some really good, authentic, informal, two-way conversation with our community, get some great feedback. So we use this not only as an opportunity to promote ourselves, but also as an opportunity to listen and engage with our community. And so we have a lot of great opportunities to do that, and most of you are at many of these events already, so you're familiar with how they go. Here's a few more. That picture on the left of the girl in I think that's a unicorn. She's holding one of our coloring books that we give out. We gave that out at our the Saginaw Trunk or Treat that we were there. So we do have the opportunity to share some of our promotional items and get the word out about us. We also have some special projects. Connect for Safety was one of our projects that has continued to be ongoing. We made some good strides in that, and we're refocusing those efforts again as back to school picks up. You'll notice both of these, this one and the Employee Recruitment Campaign, are Golden Achievement Award winners at the national level. They are full campaigns that were submitted to show the level of meeting the need of there was a problem, we met the need, and we provided the solution and provided the community engagement that went with that. So these were partnerships. First, obviously, Connect for Safety is a vision of Dr. Chadwell's that we were able to bring to life. We also partnered with HR and Rochelle with the Employee Recruitment Campaign, and both of those are award-winning campaigns. So we're proud of the work we get to do with our departments as well. couple others is long-range facility planning. Several of you have been involved in that as well, so you know that that's an ongoing process. We work closely with Mr. Cleet Welch and Rob Welch and Dr. Chadwell and those that have been involved in long-range facility planning. And so more will come on that, but we've been excited to engage our community in that process. And then also to provide some legislative support. Several of at least one of our staff members has had the opportunity to go down and assist several of our administrators as they testified during the legislative session. We were able to work on legislative priorities and really anything else that we can do to help support Dr. Chadwell and the district's efforts and the efforts towards support of public education. We also have the all other duties as assigned. And so this is our systems and compliance. We manage our Public Information Act requests and our FERPA requests, our Peach Jar email flyer system, crisis communications, our ADA compliance with our website and our tools. One of the things that I'm proud of on this particular slide is we partnered with our HCTC, our CTE program, to bring in some summer interns. So students from our animation and our video and graphic design programs had the opportunity to come in, do a little work with us, build some portfolio. And I gotta tell you, these kids were great. They built out an entire social media plan for our district in like 3 hours. So for the next year. So I'm gonna do this again. Puts me ahead for the year. But I just wanna kind of do a shout out to them as well. We have Caroline Cook. She's a senior this year at Boswell. Claire Dooley is a graduate from Chisholm Trail this past May, and Elizabeth Fontano is a Saginaw High School graduate from this past May. So we're proud to have all three of them come in. We had a lot of interest, so I'm looking forward to continuing that next year. We also have a college graduate. His name is Gavin Miller, and he's been with us for 2 summers now, building his portfolio, trying to put his feelers out there. And so we're happy to be able to have him here to help him with that, but then also he's gaining some valuable experience and helping us out in the process. So proud to have our interns here this summer as well. Finally, I mentioned, we're involved in a lot of things, from district leadership team to state and national representation and organizations. In fact, Matthew LeBlanc, our Director of Communications, started yesterday the Certified Public Communicator program down at TCU. That's where he is right now, starting the process, the year-long process to earn his certification in that I did back in 2017, I think it was. So it's going to be a great update to the work that I started there. And so he's there now. Dusty Langley, she just got recognized at our national conference last week for completing the Inspira Leadership Academy. That was an online course, but it was a year-long course. And so she's graduated from that. And we have many awards to share with you as well. We have 14 state awards that I believe we shared with you. We also earned 14 national awards, including those 2 Gold Achievement Awards. So, we're excited about the work we do. We don't do the work for awards, but it's nice when they do get the awards for all the work that goes into it. So we're proud to represent EMS ISD. And keeping with tradition, that's our retreat photo from this past summer. So there's your team, and we just thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Good. Now, we were asked to do a presentation at TASB, so that'll be coming up. So hopefully y'all can make it, that there's no major conflict during that session. We don't know our time yet. I'm hoping not Sunday morning.
Hopefully not,
Sunday
or
morning.
yeah.
But anyway, we're looking forward to that
What's
as well.
the topic specifically?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Topic specifically?
It's on Connect for Safety. So it's the one we did at Midwinter, and we resubmitted it, and they felt like we really needed to bring that back and share it. It's so unique. It's such a unique project that it's one that usually.
Have you had other districts reach out to you yet to kind of build on?
So local districts, Crowley, I talked to Crowley, my friends down in Crowley, they asked kind of about it because they're kind of in a similar boat because they're on the south end of Fort Worth. And so, yeah, I've talked to local folks about it as well. So yeah, nothing super formal, but a lot of interest in it.
Other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Update. Moving on to education services. First, we have our ESL bilingual report. Dr. Jones.
Good evening, President Ring, board members, and Dr. Chadwell. I'm honored to present you information on our ESL bilingual program. And the first slide you see here shows you how many students we have in our bilingual program. Our numbers are increasing slightly, but percentage-wise in comparison to our district numbers, they're pretty much staying at 2.8% for our bilingual students. Where we are growing is in our ESL population. And when you add all of those numbers together, we increased our EB students, which the new term is emergent bilingual, by 401 students during this school year. And so in our district right now, we currently had 14.9% of our entire population labeled as EB. So that's a large increase in our numbers. And if you look at the next slide, this is where you see the languages that are most often spoken in our school district based on their home language survey. Spanish obviously being the strongest at 62%. Then it is French. Most of that is from Africa. Then we have Nepali, Vietnamese, and Laotian, and that has changed over the years, and we keep getting those pockets of students coming more and more that are immigrants from those other countries. In our district right now, we have over 60 languages that are spoken from the different students that have submitted their home language survey. As far as our bilingual program, we've not had to have an exception. In the last 8 years, currently, we are fully staffed for school to begin. Unless something happens, we do have one pre-K position, but we're looking at our numbers very closely to see if we're going to need that position filled. But we've been very fortunate with our bilingual program that everybody wants to come to Eagle Mountain. We have really, really worked hard on our program, and over the years, it's very successful. Our students perform very well academically, and we have teachers that want to come here because we have the resources, we do the proper training, so we're a site that they are choosing to want to come to. As far as exceptions and waivers, we have to file those. We did last year, and we will again for French and Nepali, because if you have 20 students in a single grade level, then you have to do it, even though there are no programs for these students to have a bilingual program for those languages. We do have several grade levels that have more than 20 students in those two different languages. As far as ESL, we had a waiver last year filed for 12 teachers in English language arts because those have to be certified in ESL if they have EL students in their classrooms. We had 12. 4 of those have become certified. One has resigned, and the others are have either taken their test, we don't have their results yet, or are taking it this summer before school begins. Okay, staff development. Our bilingual department, we provide most of our own staff development because our folks are trained and they're excellent. And so we do our ESL certification. Terry Watson did that training this summer. We invite anyone who is not ESL certified to come to a 2-day intensive training. We do have other trainings we provide, but not in person. Trainings are offered to all of our campuses on strategies to develop oral language for all of our students. Our EB campus coordinators also receive language proficiency assessment committee training. That is 3 times a year, beginning, middle, and end of the school year. We also provide other staff developments that are directly related to helping our EB students be successful, and we do that as a campus request. Terry, Heath, and Anna, all of them help the campuses, and all of those campuses request, and these folks are getting their plates filled up on their calendars because people are asking for it, because we want our students to be successful in the classroom as well as on their TELPAS and START tests, because we are accountable for that. It does go into our state accountability for the campus level as well as for the district level. We also have our bilingual focus committee that we've had for 4 consecutive years. We involve administrators and teachers from all of the campuses to give us feedback, to talk about the up and coming things in bilingual. We also have an ESL focus committee. This was our 2nd year, and we have a variety of members on that, from teachers to administrators, to give us input so that we can focus on improving our programs. We also have the Spanish and French parent academies that we have had going. Our Spanish academy is done in person. We do that twice a year, 6 to 8 weeks in the fall, 6 to 8 weeks in the spring. Our French parents want to do it virtually, so We get feedback back from the parents, so the French Academy is done virtually. We are also looking at getting our Nepali parents involved, and so we're looking at maybe meeting with those once or twice a year right now to get a nucleus of parents together so that they can form a bond and work with us and work with each other so that we know their cultural values, and that helps us. We learn from them just like they learn from us. Parent engagement, that's a requirement for all of our federal programs, and ESL Bilingual is one of those, and all campuses are involved. We did a big event at the end of last year that was quite well attended with performances, as well as the campuses do individual cultural events to feature all of the different countries and things that are going on. And then we have our bilingual pre-K summer school. We have really worked hard at that, and we make it better every year. Our students perform very well. We have very strong rigor in that program, and our students, when they leave there, perform very, very well when they go into either kindergarten or first grade. And also we have a performance. It's music, because we do have a music teacher we hired as an enrichment, and the parents attend it because they love to see their kids performing. And then finally, we have our ESL Summer Enrichment, and that's for our 1st through 5th grade to continue those students to learn the language. And Terry Watson's in charge of that for us and works very, very hard on getting the right students there. We get really strong teachers, and we have really, really good results from there. What questions do y'all have of me? I have Mr. Dollar here with me tonight, so he can answer what I can't answer.
Thank you very much for the update. Doesn't look like we have any questions. Moving on, we have a TASB update 121. Ms. Eckert?
Good evening, President Ring, Dr. Chadwell, Board of Trustees. It's my pleasure to stand before you tonight to talk about TASB Update 121. I do need to note in your board agenda item on the summary page, from the summary area, it does say 120, but everywhere else it says 121. We have, out of Update 121, there are 48 legal policy updates, and there are 2 that I would like to bring to your attention. The first one is BBA Legal. This is conducting elections. Pretty much this just says that they move the confidentiality of the email address and personal phone number of the election judge and clerk to GBA Legal, because these are not items that are open for public information. The other one is BQ Legal. This is for planning and decision-making process. The district's bullying prevention policy and procedures are to be included in the district improvement plan. And I know Mrs. Beth Sanders and Ms. Shonda Turrentine have already started conversations on that. Update 121 has 10 local policy recommendations. The first one is for CFB Local. It's accounting inventories. The revision states that the superintendent shall determine the capitalization threshold of groups of a group of assets. CKE Local is safety program risk management for security personnel. This policy addressed the district's police department and was moved to CKEA Local to better align the district's legal and local policies. CKEA Local, this is Security Personnel Commission Peace Officers is actually the title of this policy. We did not previously have a local policy for this, so they've pretty much just dropped CKE Local into this policy. CLB Local, Building Grounds and Equipment Management. They added residential property to the policy for integrated pest management control programs. CRF Local, Insurance and Annuities Management for unemployment insurance. There's no revision to this text. The date is being changed at the bottom to accommodate the fact that we went to policy online beginning of last year. CVA Local, Facilities Construction Competitive Building. In BJA local, it authorizes the superintendent to designate the responsibility for bidding. Therefore, they took out the or designee in the policy. In CVB local, the same thing. They took out the designee in the policy based on the fact that the superintendent can designate somebody per BJA local. DEA local, compensation and benefits. This revision replaces the word bi-monthly with semi-monthly to eliminate confusion about the frequency of pay, and it clarifies the circumstances which certain employees will receive premium pay during emergency closing for a disaster. FD local is about admissions. The revision changes, this pertains to homeless and students in substitute care. The revision changes to determine transfer or credit to ensure credit. Under the new rule, a district must adopt a policy to ensure credit has been awarded appropriately prior to enrollment. Also in this policy, they took out the or designee per, like what we did with the other two policies. So they took that verbiage out. The last one is FFI local, student welfare freedom from bullying. January 31st, 2023, TEA completed the minimum standards for bullying prevention. The revisions here address the minimum standards and the periodic monitoring. Any questions at this time? Okay, these are for report tonight, and I will bring them back in August for voting.
And if you also want to talk to us about the student code of conduct here.
Can I ask for y'all's
absolutely.
permission that we put that in consent at the next meeting since there are no questions on policy? Okay.
Just want to know what class of assets you're going to assign, but
Okay.
just want to know what class of assets you're going to assign to the superintendent will assign them.
Apparently that is a decision I need to make. I've not determined the class of assets
Okay.
at this point. I did.
Maybe Mr. Welch could help you with that.
That was my note to review that with him.
All right, student code of conduct. Moving forward, the student code of conduct will now be called the code of conduct per TASB. There are 5 changes this year in the student code of conduct. The first 3 actually address House Bill 114. The first one requires, on page 21 of the new student code of conduct, requires mandatory placement in a DAEP for selling, giving, delivering, possessing, using, or being under the influence of marijuana, THC, or e-cigarette within 300 feet of school property as measured from any point on the school's real estate boundary line or while attending a school-sponsored or school-related activity on or off of school property. The second one pertaining to House Bill 114 is on page 23. It states that when DAEP is at capacity, a student who engages in conduct related to marijuana, THC, and e-cigarette, alcohol, or abuse volatile chemical, or an abusable volatile chemical, must be placed in ISS until the student can be transferred to DAEP when space becomes available. It also goes on that if there are more violent offenders that need the spot at DAEP, then the students under these can actually go back to the ISS until another spot opens, or if they finish up their time. The third one for House Bill 114 is on page 33. This removes the mandatory expulsion requirement for marijuana, THC, and alcohol-related offenses that are punishable as a felony. The next update pertains to House Bill 3928 and is on page 22 of the Student Code of Conduct. It amends Chapter 37 to require the district to provide information to a student's parent about the process for requesting a full individual and initial evaluation of a student for purposes of special education services when the student is placed in a mandatory DAEP. The final update pertains to House Bill 1427. It is on page 39 through 40 of the updated Student Code of Conduct. It expands the offense of harassment under Penal Code 42.07 to include making obscene, intimidating, or threatening telephone calls or other electronic communication from a temporary or disposable telephone. Any questions?
I have a question. I'm going back to that first one on page 21 about mandatory placement in DAEP. Are you saying that they use an e-cigarette they're automatically in DAEP?
Per House Bill 114, yes.
Good.
Go ahead. I'm working.
There's a however to this.
Okay.
Yes, there's a however. I was looking for approval to however it.
Yeah.
We will be looking into adding into our District of Innovation a plan to not place students for e-cigarettes at DAEP.
Okay.
This particular area was made through, obviously, new legislation. We believe they weren't thinking through it when they passed this because it's really doesn't make a lot of sense. Right, it is. And so our intention is not to place everyone that has some type of e-cigarette device into JJAEP. Obviously, some people use that to have drugs, have something laced with THC, and we already have laws that allow us to do that for those cases. So we do have options within the District of Innovation plan, but also we've been told that, thank you. Go ahead, please. Go ahead and come up, Dan. Also, there's been a conversation about this actually from the commissioner just last Thursday during the weekly or monthly superintendent's discussion, and he has talked about that TEA is going to look at this as well. Within the law, I don't see a lot of flexibility, but he intends to believe that that there may be. So Dana, do you mind going over that?
We are continuing to research this. When we were looking at the intent of the bill was actually made to provide more flexibility to the districts. At the last minute, the e-cigarette part was added in. And so it provides no flexibility on that. I will say the bill becomes effective September 1st. The District of Innovation is a process, and so we will not be able to have the DOI in place by September 1st. But what we are going to do is continue our current practice of investigating and making sure that students that definitely go against our current policy with any type of unacceptable devices, drugs, so forth, we will continue that. Concerning the e-cigarettes, we will continue to make the best choice for that child as well. Because what we don't want to do is this flip-flop that the legislature really didn't intend for that to occur, of having a child go from DAEP, but then that gets full, then they come back, and it's a constant back and forth, which is how the law reads. So they are continuing to look at that. There is a possibility it may come up in the second session because many districts are concerned about this, but we are keeping track of what other districts are doing. And right now, the only thing that gives us relief from this current wording is the District of Innovation. So there's a strong possibility that I will be able to complete that process in September and bring that to you at the end of September or the September board meeting.
Well, I'm not saying smoking is not bad for you. I just don't think you should go to jail for it.
We concur. We feel actually the rules that are in place right now are appropriate. You have suspension. If you have a complete continued insubordination, I'm talking about for non-drugs, tobacco only, there could be placement in DAP, but for years that was at most a suspendable offense, maybe followed by ISS, certainly educational requirements. And then this is, I think what they've done is conflated something to do with drugs and the transportability of drugs within the e-cig and just have conflated those two things. And they're obviously not.
It truly, again, reading the timeline of the bill and the actions that took place with the many times that it was going back and forth between the chambers, it really was added at the last minute. I believe in the sense of ensuring that e-cigarettes that contain substance that's not allowed.
Would have been an easy phrase to add.
Yes, but the problem is they did not fully write it correctly.
I just hate us to approve a policy manual that, I mean, I guess if we don't have a choice here, from what you're saying, this is the
Well-
law these are the changes forced by the legislative passing the new law. So
Yeah.
our workaround is perhaps through the DOI.
Well, and I will tell you, we are not the first ones jumping into this. We do believe that it's in our best interest to make sure that we are just kind of observing right now to see what all is happening. We are in constant contact with our sister districts and also with our attorneys to make sure that what other districts are doing is in alignment of what our thinking is. But at this point in time, the DOI is the only way that we would be able to be in compliance.
Okay, thank you.
So can you clarify though, are we plan to enforce this then, as it is written in here?
It's a law.
But I just wanted, I wasn't positive that's what I heard
President
what the
Ring,
state said.
EMSISD always follows our laws and our legal. I will also tell you that EMSISD is a firm believer that we are going to do what's ever in the best educational and emotional state for our students. And so at this point, we will follow law. And that does allow us, for right now, we are going to take a grace period.
And the reality is JJ is going to fill in about 5 seconds. So there's not going to be room in JJAP.
JJ's already voiced that they are extremely upset about this. Districts from all over are very upset because, again, cigarettes are not good. We don't want our students having cigarettes or vapes from that standpoint. But there is a difference between tobacco and drugs. And so that's what we're working on. So we are not rushing a District of Innovation exemption right now.
As she said, there's a process, and
There's a
the process has to be legitimate. And therefore, we were going to go through all the steps with the hope to bring it to you in September, the September board meeting. But obviously, we'll be several weeks into school. And we may get something as an update from us in the interim as well, because we're expecting more guidance from TEA as well. But their hands are kind of tied in this area as well.
Right now that it is tied, but part of the DOI, when you add an exemption, you're having to go through a full renewal process, and that involves your district planning and advisory committee. That first meeting is not till September 27th, so even the board meetings prior. So if we decide to go through this, I will definitely keep you updated in the board update that we would probably move our DPAC first meeting up.
So if a parent or staff member has an e-cigarette within 300 feet of the school, is there any punishment or any consequences for, I know we can't smoke on school ground, they just have to
Right.
put it out. Is that the same distance that's currently enforced for parents? And
No.
No.
The possession of tobacco by adults is not illegal. It can't be used, but it's not illegal to possess.
Once you're over the age of 18.
18, yeah.
21. 21 now.
Oh, is it 21?
Yeah.
That's good.
I have a 21-year-old, so I know that.
Oh,
I didn't do it.
Not that makes it okay, but I just know, 17's a movie, 18, get all your numbers there. 25 to rent a car. So that right there is something that we would obviously not want people to have possession, but we're not going to enforce that because it's legal to have possession as an adult. However, possession of anything illegal,
Right.
such as drugs, would be enforced.
absolutely. So we will definitely be keeping you updated. Ms. Eckert is actually in contact, again, with the attorneys, but also with our representative at TASB, just to, again, kind of getting a feel. But we will definitely be bringing you an update, not this week, but next week.
Any other questions? I had a couple quick ones. Oh, did you have one?
I just want to make my understatement for this, just for people watching, and you've said it, but e-cigs are a problem. I mean, this is a huge problem. Vaping is a huge problem. And so just to underscore our concern with this particular law doesn't mean we don't have concerns with e-cigs or vapes. They're a huge problem. They're marketing directly to children. I don't know what 54-year-old has Blueberry Blast as their choice for tobacco, but I mean, it's obviously that they're marketing towards children. And of course, there's been some lawsuits that have addressed that as well. So I just wanted to say that for the record, that we don't find that appropriate at all, and we'll deal with it. But we don't feel like this course of action obviously is probably not even what they intended. So
It was not.
yeah, because I think the legislator in question said that's not what I meant it to be at all. But these things are done at night right before deadlines, and they come through and then they try to fix them in the next session. So this is our Reading Academies bill, if you will, from the previous session. So.
And just for your information, we will also be reaching out to the author of the bill to let them know our opinion on this as well.
I just had a couple other questions. On page 13, where we're talking about miscellaneous offenses, we have a bullet in it that talks about academic dishonesty. Have we thought about adding any language around AI in there?
I could actually take that one, but you're welcome.
I think-
to just go ahead and sit back.
Dr. Barnes may make a comment. I think we're a little bit too early to
Too
put
early
that
to put in there.
Yeah.
We are, if it's okay for me just to give a little bit of a blurb on this. AI has actually been around for many, many years. When the internet was developed, AI became a part of it. So what we're doing, there are some districts that are putting in place language of adding AI. AI is so prevalent, you're not going to be able to stop it. So what we have decided to do is AI is the new industrial revolution of today. It's kind of like how calculators, when calculators came on board, we were dumbing down society because now people have access to a calculator. Now it's everyday use. So what we are going to do is we are continuing with our plagiarism and cheating policy, and that means using someone else's work, and that includes all aspects. With adding language, instead what we are going to do, instead of banning something, trying to stop it, we would spend so much more of our time and effort in trying to stop something that really we need to go the opposite direction. We need to embrace it. We need to teach it how to use it appropriately. We need to teach our kids what it means to use it, how to use it in a positive light. We are not putting any copyrighted materials into any of the big AI access points right now. And also too, we're not entering any student data. But anything that's local controlled, or if a student, again, needs to learn how to write a more elaborate essay, okay, then use AI actually in the beginning. Show them what a good essay is written, and then you're being able to then model how then would you put that in your words? How does this look over in this level? And it's also going to give our teachers the greatest aspect of differentiation. We have provided lesson plans for our teachers in the core content, so they have the time to be able just to internalize what they're teaching. But this would also allow to assist and help with, if I have a child that just comes in and doesn't speak any English whatsoever, then we're absolutely able to utilize some of these programs. Khan Academy is one that we are researching right now. They have just made a partnership with ChatGPT-4, and I'm very interested in that. And then we have also, we were very grateful that we have been accepted and have already been partnering with Stanford University with building an AI program that would benefit teachers concerning the differentiation in the classroom.
Thank you.
Any
Any other questions?
Other questions come to you?
Okay, how much do you have? You wanna go
So
into
this is for,
Sorry.
Okay.
so this is for a report. Right now, I'll be bringing it back as section G tonight after 7 o'clock. for voting.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So sometimes y'all may remember, we can't do this all in July because we don't have everything. It depends on the legislative session. This legislative session, although it has a doozy, it wasn't that extensive in terms of changes. So fortunately, we're able to bring it to you in July for consideration in July. If you'd like to wait, you certainly can. It just means it puts us in a situation where we're starting school and this waiting to be approved. But since it's all based in law, we essentially have to follow this unless it's something that it's locally developed. So just wanted to let y'all know that that's why it's coming in the same meeting. Give us an opportunity to start the year with it all approved, then we communicate it and all that.
Thank you. I apologize for cutting you off.
Oh, no, that's okay. We all fine? Okay. Do you want to do operations or?
Sure.
Okay, we're going to jump ahead here because we think the finance report might take a little longer. So we're going to jump to operations before we break to go into close. So Mr. Welch, you'd like to give us a construction update?
This is going to be shorter than the financial
I don't
update?
know.
Be faster. Yeah.
Oh.
So no pressure.
Okay, Eagle Mountain High School, just some overview of the on-site package there. In front, you have the masons laying more brick and additional glass. They're starting to work on the rooftop on the main entrance. You can see that in the picture. The bottom one is just showing, like I mentioned, that's more glass installation. Probably 80% of that is complete now on the courtyard view. Moving around to the gymnasium and the foyer entrance to the gymnasium, you can see the steel structure going up. It's a lot of steel in that area for that opening. Also be a location for the logo. When you come into that area, it's a high space. We'll have the student logo on the floor there. And you saw this one, if you remember from last month, that was the main entrance to the Performing Arts Center. But again, more structural steel is in place now. So it's a good prominent entrance on that side of the building. You'll know that that's something important to go to. And just working on the stadium, the structural steel on the press box is probably near complete now. If you go by, it's a big yellow structure. It has the dense glass, that's the waterproofing material. The CMU block on the visitors and home stands for the restrooms, that continues. And then the picture on the right kind of shows the main playing field. That's just a bunch of shell, but they've graded that off, and now they're starting to level that off with the first grade of topsoil, not topsoil, but base. So it's still progressing. And just what I mentioned a while ago, that's what the main stadium will look like. That's the baseball, softball. They're leveling off the field. And you can see the pump truck. They're still working on the ramps and the bleachers in those areas. Because it does sit down in the bowl, so you have to have the ramps for ADA access. And you can see the light poles. They've been installed, I think all of them, but maybe 2. They're just waiting because of what's in the way, construction-wise. Moving around to the backside, that's the minor competition field that will receive a turf. And the bottom left, that's the yellow, that's the dense glass, and they're probably halfway up. You can see the structure where they're putting the masonry, the brick on that. They're in place, but they're probably halfway up toward the windows. Any questions on the site work on Eagle Mountain? Billy's going to talk a little bit later about the off-site package and where we're at with that.
You still got a year there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, really, actually less than that, because the athletic area, as long as we get the off-site roads and get that in place, should be turned over in the spring.
Oh, good.
But there's still some workarounds that need to occur on that pipeline that Billy will talk about. Okay, so Elizabeth Lopez Hatley Elementary, the big thing here is we are progressing. You're right, it's the main entrance. All that has been landscaped except for some few plants next to the gym. You got a picture of the entrance to the front office. And you have a picture of the main hallway. You see the ceiling tile, and you see the covering on the vinyl floor, and you see work on the wall tile, and to the left, you see the library. So in this area, we've had the furniture, it's been delivered. Actually, in all areas, the furniture has been delivered, first level, second level, and by, I think Thursday will be the final day, and all the furniture will be in its place in the rooms. Right now, maybe in the hallway or being delivered into the building, but so we're progressing with the furniture part of it. They did the startup on the kitchen, so it's been had its first cleaning, and it'll be set up for our kitchen staff. On the stage, they have put in the folding wall and also some finished touches, and you see them painting and working on the tile work there. There's some punch items. Working in the gym, putting up the Falcon logo, that's been completed. It looks good. They'll do the striping on the floor within the week. And on the bottom is the site, that's the basketball sidewalks going out to the basketball goals. There's 4 of them located in that area. And just some example of the tile work that's been completed. That one's on the bottom floor in the main breezeway. One on the left, this is a typical classroom on the bottom floor, and they're putting in the window sill, caulking that one with adhesive on that location. And moving up the stairs, you can see the tile work that's been completed. They're working in 2 different sections on that, so I think I have a couple of pictures of the tile. Yes, the one on top right, that's been completed. And a week ago, 10 days, that's what it looked like in area D2. And now the furniture, or some of the millwork is in there. Now there's furniture in the hallway. The flooring's going down on all the upper floors. And here's kind of the timeline that we're looking at. Some of these have already passed, but as I mentioned, we have the furniture, so that has been installed. Tomorrow is a big day as far as getting a TCO for staff. So that's the fire department coming out. If that does occur, then we're looking at moving the office staff up in the front of the AB and keeping them in that area. Then you have other things that will be delivered, such as the basic book. You got a custodian coming in to clean, and we're going to have campus staff development on 8-1 in the library, which they'll be confined to that building. And 8-7 is teacher move-in. Now, we'll be in the building. There's 2 things that happened last week that we weren't expecting. One of them, we knew about it and we thought we had a workaround on it. The playground. The playground was not ordered in time, adequately enough. We thought we had it worked out where it would come in the first part of August, first week. However, it is not, so Pogue is going to have to put a temporary playground in. So there'll be 6 structures out there that are temporary, and it'll be mulched. So when our playground equipment comes in, they'll have to come in and take all that out and put in our permanent playground. But they will have something for the start of school. So that one was really, to me, just not a quality planning on the contractor's part. The other one, I really wouldn't say is this is something we weren't expecting. It was supposed to be delivered, is the elevator. The elevator has not been manufactured out of the off the manufacturing site. There's very few elevator companies. That they know that, and you don't get a lot of customer service with elevators. But the chips have been delayed, so we will not have an elevator when school starts on that. We're hoping. Right now, they've told us September on the chips. There may be some where they'll deliver it, we can actually get it installed, but then all they have to do is put in the chips, but they have not committed to doing that. Right now, they want to show up and do it all at once, is what we're hearing. The staff, the administration, because of the amount of students we have and the amount of classrooms, so they will all, as we currently stand, they'll all be on the lower floor. So that should not impact unless we had to move a classroom upstairs. Then if that's the case, we'll have to come up with a different workaround. So if anybody, a student or a staff member needs it, there'll have to be a workaround that POG will have to put in place. And someone will be back charged for that if that occurs. So anyway, those are the two things that were curveballs right at the last moment. Just got to get the occupancy and get that taken care of this week.
And just a question on that, the costs associated with the playground, I'm assuming since it was a
That's
contractor
under
mistake,
POG.
it's on them, okay.
They've expedited it also to get it here quicker. So,
Same site, I assume? I mean,
Yes.
same
they'll put it in the
location.
same site. Once it gets here, then that'll be the time, how much, we're hoping that they'll go ahead and be able to drill the piers, because there's a lot of piers in that permanent structure. That's what's going to take time. So if they can get those done, then they put the temporary on top of it, then you're just pulling off that, then you're just putting in bolts and things and assembling.
How far does our property line go back there, Clete? Because there's, I guess, that drainage pond or retention pond's back there. And we're going to fence
It is fenced.
yeah, that goes back to the fence.
Yes.
That's our property line.
That's our property line on the northern border. So the kids will be able to play in that area. Of course, when we do go for the permanent playground, that'll have to be fenced off and contained. There also is another, what I call running playground in between the cafeteria and the academic area. So that'll have a fence on it, so they'll be able to go there also. More of a free play area, I guess you would say.
Other questions? Okay.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, Mr. Kidd, we're going to have to push yours off till the 7 o'clock session.
He was so ready.
It is currently 6:09 PM on July 24th, and this board will now recess for dinner and then reconvene in a closed meeting pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act. Texas Government Code Section 551.071 for the purpose of private consultation with the board's attorney. Section 551.072 for the purpose of deliberating the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Section 551.074 for the purpose of deliberating the appointment, employment, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee. And that tonight also does including conducting the superintendent's formative appraisal and contract renewals for some district employees. Section 551.076 for the purpose of deliberation regarding the deployment or specific occasions for implementation of security personnel devices or security audits, and that will also include tonight a review of the district's emergency operating procedures. Section 551.076 for the purpose of deliberating regarding the deployment or specific occasions or implementation of security personnel or devices, and section 551.0821 to discuss specifically personal identifying information about a student. I read one of those twice. Did I read one twice? I think I did.
Take it.
This is a public meeting of the Board of Education of Eagle Mountain Saginaw Independent School District. The board is reconvening in the public meeting on July 24th at 7:09 PM and will now consider the subjects set forth in the posted agenda. Welcome to our July meeting. I'm glad y'all are here to join us. We have an opening ceremony by Saginaw High School this evening.
Good evening. My name is Cynthia Weber, and I'm the proud principal at Saginaw High School, and I have three wonderful gentlemen here who I would like to introduce to each of you. First, we have Caden Zollicoffer, who is a junior at Saginaw. His parents are Kenya and Tier Jackson. He is heavily involved in our football program, and he hopes to pursue a degree in sports management and medicine. We also have Paul Barassa. He is a senior, and his parents are Tom and Vania Barassa. He's involved in our football and track programs and hopes to pursue a degree in journalism. And last but not least, we have Atilano Smith, who is also a senior. His mom is Erica Molina. She's in the audience, and his little brother, Eli Vasquez, is also in the audience. He's involved in our football program and our National Honor Society program and hopes to pursue a degree in mechanical engineering. So I will turn it over to these gentlemen. If you'll please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please remain standing for the Texas pledge.
All right. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Now ready for the moment of silence.
Thank you.
Thank you, Saginaw. Next, we have some special recognitions. Dr. Eldridge.
President Ring, Dr. Chadwell, board members, and leadership team. Each year, thousands of students across the country compete in Skills USA district contests. Some move on to state, with a few moving on to nationals. From those, the best of the best come home a national champion, and EMS ISD has one of their own. Tonight, I am so very proud to present SHS and HCTC senior Jonathan Almodovar as the Skills USA National Champion in Automotive Maintenance and Light Repair. Jonathan earned the opportunity to represent the state of Texas at the national competition by placing second in district and first in state. The MLR contest simulates an automotive repair site where competitors are tasked with completing actual repairs, including multi-point inspections, brake system measurements, tire sensor diagnosis, electrical system functions, and diagnostic testing. Along with these technical skills, they must also take a written exam and complete a job interview. To say the least, I think Jonathan would tell you he put in a full day's work, multiple times. As we all know, so many of our students have amazing support systems. And before moving on, I'd like to introduce Jonathan's biggest supporters. His parents, Raquel Janos and Ramiro Almodovar, if you'd stand. And I'd also like to introduce his brothers, Christian and Ramiro. Also here tonight is Jonathan's automotive teacher, Ernie Cruz, who is a shining example of the amazing educators that make up EMS ISD. Mr. Cruz, would you please? Jonathan, I want to tell you, you worked hard. You put in a lot of hours, and we could not be more proud of you. And thank you so much for representing your family, Saginaw High School, HCTC, and all of EMS ISD. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Skills USA National MLR Champion Gold Medalist, Jonathan Almodovar.
Congratulations, what an honor. We also have some special introductions this evening. Mr. Behringer, Dr. Arnold, and Ms. Turntime.
President Ring, Dr. Chadwell, Board of Trustees, it is my joy to introduce the new principal of Elkins Elementary School, Miss Madeline Child. Madeline has extensive experience in school administration at multiple levels, and she is a resident of our district. And so she is already a huge supporter of the school district and is very excited to be serving here. She has served students in a variety of roles, a high school English teacher, before moving into administration at Brewer High School. She was the assistant principal. And then for the last 2 years, she has been the principal of North Elementary School. She has a bachelor's degree in English and a master's degree in secondary education from Sam Houston State University. Madeline and her husband Cody, who is with her tonight, have been married for 11 years. They have 2 children, a son who is entering 1st grade and a daughter who is entering 4th grade. And they are not here because they are in Austin at Cousin Camp, having a great, great time. So we're so excited to welcome Madeline to our family.
Madam President, Dr. Chadwell, members of the board and leadership, I am pleased as punch to be able to introduce some of our new administrators at the secondary level. The first one I would like to introduce is Dr. Peters. Dr. Peters is a public educator of 20 years of experience. He has served the last 3 years as the principal at Betsy Coleman Elementary School in Cedar Hill. He's also served as an assistant principal at both the middle school and the high school level. He was first a science teacher, received his undergraduate from Southern Methodist University, his graduate degree from the University of Texas at Arlington, and then his doctorate from Tarleton State University in Stephenville. He is married to the love of his life, Miss Destiny Peters. Miss Peters, if you could please stand. And she is here with their 2 grown boys, their 2 sons. So we would have them stand as well. Welcome, Dr. Peters, to EMS ISD. I would next like to introduce Mr. Bracamontes. Mr. Bracamontes is a native of Bamel, Texas. I had to ask him a second ago. I said, I've heard of a lot of places. I've never heard of Bamel. It is northwest of Houston. Mr. Bracamontes began his educational career as a 4th grade science teacher. He also taught ELA and social studies. He coached here at EMS ISD for a number of years at Creekland Middle School under the leadership of the incomparable Anthony Anagnostis. He's also a graduate of Dallas Baptist University. He was one of our interns last year, where he served at Marine Creek under the tutelage of Dr. Ron Gallen. His hobbies include spending time with his family, golfing, kayaking, anything that he can do to be outside. We're super duper excited to have Mr. Bracamontes, who will be an assistant principal at Ed Wilkie Middle School. Next, I would like to introduce Christian Espinal. Mr. Espinal, also known as Coach Espinal, has been a longtime educator in EMS ISD, teaching and coaching at the high school level. He has been in EMS for 10 years. He received his undergraduate degree from the University of North Texas in Denton. He also served as a DBU intern. I believe he served at Wayside Middle School. He will be an assistant principal now at Wayside Middle School. His lovely wife, Sarah, is here of 3 years. She would stand. Welcome, Mr. Espinal. Last but definitely not least, Ms. Vanessa Holmes. Ms. Holmes is a native of Tyler, Texas, behind the pine curtain of East Texas. She is married to Coach Ricklin Holmes. I believe Coach Holmes is in the audience as well with two of their daughters, Micaiah and Ellen, if they would please stand. Ms. Holmes has been an educator for 20 years, serving as an assistant principal, a principal, senior director of Title I, and all of these are in our home district of Tyler ISD. She and her husband have 6 children, aging from 15 years old to 32 years old. And so we are super duper excited to have Ms. Holmes here with us as well. She'll be serving as an assistant principal at Chisholm Trail High School. Thank you.
Good evening, Board President, Madam Ring, Dr. Chadwell, distinguished members of the board, and leadership team. I stand before you just giddy, and y'all don't see me giddy very often, right? So I am here to introduce Ms. Kendria Davis Martin. Davis Martin has been named the new Director of Student Services, and she has come here with a wealth of information and knowledge. She has served over 20 years in the field of education, and she has served as a classroom teacher, an assistant principal, an academic associate principal, and most recently a middle school principal at Byrd Middle School in Duncanville ISD. Mrs. Davis Martin earned her master's in educational leadership from Texas A&M Commerce. We share that in common, and her bachelor's degree in English with the focus in secondary education from the University of Texas at Arlington. We share that in common. She is also here flanked by her wonderful family, her loving husband Zeke of 22 years. Would you please stand? And her 2 wonderful children, Zaria and Kai. Would you please stand? Welcome here to EMS ISD.
Welcome to all our new leaders. We are glad to have you. That wraps up our introductions and recognitions. So if that's what you were here for, now would be a great time to sneak out before we move back into the reports that we did not finish at the earlier session.
That makes more sense.
And while they are leaving, if Mr. Kidd would like to make his way up, we can do the second operations report on offsite improvements at Eagle Mountain High School.
Good evening, Dr. Ring. Excuse me, President Ring.
I liked it.
Dr. Chadwell, members of the board. On February 8th, 2022, the recommendation to approve Jackson Construction for the Eagle Mountain High School offsite construction project was approved. The scope of work for the offsite public works improvement package as required by the city of Fort Worth includes construction and installation of the following: water line to bring permanent water to the campus, sanitary sewer extensions, storm drainage extensions, road construction, and street lighting. Before a permit could be issued to begin the off-site project, all easements must be recorded with the city of Fort Worth. Work to gather the easements began in January of 2022, with the expectation to begin construction May of 2022. The easements had to be coordinated with multiple developers east of the high school, Greenbrick, Meritage, and Chapel Hill. Complicating the easements with Greenbrick Meritage was the relocation of an existing gas line where Fleming's Ranch Road, the road that we have to construct on the east side of the campus, was going to be complicated by the construction. So EnLink manages that gas line, created construction documents for the HIP relocation as well as contract documents for the shared cost to relocate the line. Agreements and easements for all documents were finalized and recorded with the city on February 17, 2023, delaying the start of the project 8 months. While easements discussions were taking place, we were now able to purchase and store materials for the construction of the water line, sanitary sewer, and storm drainage. These procurements did mitigate impacts to the schedule and costs for this phase of construction. Materials for road improvements could not be procured early, which created an increase to the contract cost. We're currently working with our civil engineer, T. Nolan Perkins, our contractor, Jackson Construction, and trade partners to determine the implications to schedule and verifying cost escalation due to inflation and not change of scope of work. A change order increase for the district's off-site package improvements will be presented at the August board meeting for board considerations. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Don't see any. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and then we had finance reports from Mr. Welch.
Well, good evening, President Ring, Dr. Chadwell, members of the board. Tonight, just wanted to walk through a few things of where we're at. We do have the preliminary budget proposed for the 2023-2024 year that we will be basing our proposed budget on, as well as our notices and other requirements as we move through the process and move towards adoption at the August meeting. So just kind of give you a quick recap of where we're at right now. We continue to see that 20% number in growth on our taxable assessed valuations, but that is at the $40,000 homestead exemption amount, and we should be getting, actually just got the certified values. Have had a chance to look at those since they literally just hit my email, and so we'll know what those amounts are going to be, as those will be valuable in the next step, which is to determine what our maximum compressed tax rate is with TEA. TEA is reviews that, and then this year, because of the changes, they're going to be turning around and giving us a proposed tax rate at the $100,000 homestead exemption amount that was passed as part of Senate Bill 2 in the second special session. Even though voters have not had a chance to take action on that constitutional amendment that will happen in November as a statewide election, we are moving forward, and our instructions are to move forward as if SB 2 was in effect. So as we proceed through this, and I will tell you that we are in a state right now over the next really 2 weeks, new guidance, new information, new data is happening literally. I've had 3 major things hit today as far as changes. So we're going to, the information I provide you with tonight, it's going to change a little bit over the next 2 weeks, and we'll continue to push information out as we proceed through the process. Our maximum compressed rate, that is the rate before we add in our 13 cents of local enrichment that our voter-approved tax rate that we would be able to add to that. And as of right now, we're projecting currently, under the current law, it's an M&O or maintenance and operations tax rate of 84.55 cents or 0.8455. That will go down. That's under the $40,000 homestead exemption. Right now, we're projecting that could drop to as low as 0.7492, just under 75 cents per $100 valuation. That will handle the M&O side. On the interest and sinking side, we are seeing a projection right now. We're looking at a proposal of 0.4980 for 49.8 cents. That's 0.2 of a penny decrease from the current tax rate. And so overall, we'd be looking at between 18.5 and 19 cents in total tax rate decrease with the effects of the new law as we're going into those calculations right now. In the look at the 2023-2024 preliminary budget, again, we've integrated in the approved compensation plan with the 3% for the actual for teachers, librarians, auxiliary, campus support staff, and counselors, nurses, and pretty much the bulk of the employee base, except for the 1% of actual for administrators in central office. Then we look at it includes all of our approved staffing plans to this point. And again, as we look at the M&O tax rates, those in the INS tax rates, those are being calculated, recalculated as we speak right now. And so we'll see a decrease beyond that 9.11 that's in the presentation. We continue to have a little bit of use of remaining ESSER 3 funding in the next year budget, and then continue to look at our enhancement request as needed and necessary, again, trying to control our bottom line. And with that, we're still looking at that target of $6 to $8 million use of fund balance. From the number standpoint, we put that representation here. This includes the cost savings measures that we have put in place as part of our recommendations coming out of the budget workshop we had back in June, in light of the legislative lack of action during the regular session. So with that, we show here this representation of where our functional expenditures fall at a little over or just under 251 million, with total revenues of a little over 243 million. What we will see, again, with the changes in the current law, is we will see a change in the local revenue and state revenue. We'll see numbers move back and forth with the calculation as what we will see with revenue for property taxes. As that homestead exemption 100K gets put into effect, we'll see the property tax level come down on revenue from local revenue, and the state we'll see the state revenue increase to compensate for that difference. But that is right now neutral. There's no plan for there to be any additional revenue. It's just a change in the local and state share as we come into the start of the school year. As of right now, there is no proposal for additional funding under any sessions that are, we have there's not been a special session called for additional revenue or to address school funding. In the Child Nutrition Fund, right now our projections are under our current reimbursement rates and with no changes to our meal prices, we're estimating about a $12.9 million revenue level. in expenditures right now of about just under 12.2, leaving us a balance there that we'll be able to address some additional capital replacement of food equipment and other needs within the child nutrition program. And then on the interest and sinking fund, our debt service requirements, currently we projected under the current, again, going back to current law of, with the $40,000 homestead exemption, we are projecting total revenues of about 86.5 million there on the right. That includes some state revenue, which we anticipate will increase as part of the Senate bill requirement. We will, again, just like we saw on the M&O side, with implementation of the $100,000 homestead exemption, our property tax levels revenue levels will go down. But the way the bill is written, the state should come back and adjust the state revenue and keep us whole at that level. With on the expenditure side, we are proposing besides paying our scheduled debt of which is about $71.5 million, we also are proposing a defeasance of variable rate bonds, and that number again that will change and adjust as we look at our tax rate projection based off the change in the homestead exemption, our property values. But that's our first calculation, and of course that number will be changing over the next 2 weeks. But we do plan to take advantage of this opportunity to try to get pay down some of our debt to open up capacity for the future, because what we will see happen, and of a significant portion, is that homestead exemption going from $40,000 to $100,000 has significantly impacted our bond capacity in the future going forward. In fact, it's pretty much negated the growth, the high level of growth that we are seeing right now. It's almost negating that growth level, and so that is creates a challenge in the future as we look at the needs of the district and the ability to accommodate growth that is coming. So with that, we're taking this as a strategic approach to go ahead and try to get some capacity built up by paying down some of our existing debt levels where we can. So with that, we have a projected use of fund balance right now of about 1.7 million, and our current projected fund balance level is sitting about 14.8. So we're at a good point to make this this investment in our bond capacity. So with that, that's where we're standing right now. Again, these numbers are going to be changing over the next 2 weeks. We'll continue to provide information to update you on that process as we move forward into the building the notices that go out to our public as we move closer to the adoption process. If you have any questions, be happy to address those.
As soon as we run the models, we'll send them to you so you have them all before the next meeting. We don't want to wait until the next meeting, obviously, for you to see the models. We just have to analyze that based upon the property numbers we just got back. Yeah.
Questions?
We have to set the budget and then set the tax rate at the next. I notice we have an action item coming up, so we would be adjusting these numbers prior to that presentation. So,
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It's going to be, we're going to try to process this and get this to you as soon as possible, so there's enough time. So if there's questions, y'all can certainly reach out to us, and we'll go over all that, because it's kind of all coming at once at the next meeting. Yeah. And of course, some of this is projections based on the 100,000, which just won't be approved until it would be ratified in November. So that's a factor in all of this too.
How's it mechanically going to work?
Yeah, I was
with
gonna
the property tax bills going out? Do we know?
So yes, they will. Tarrant County and working along with Tarrant Appraisal District, they will be generating tax bills under the 100K homestead exemption. And so immediately after the election, I think those tax bills come out, and there's a prescribed format for the bills during this transition time, as far as what information will be provided on there, both at the $100,000 level, but also showing a comparison back to the $40,000
And then
exemption level.
the revenue loss associated with that, the school district will be reimbursed dollar for dollar to a budget we've already approved, so to speak?
Yes, that's our understanding, the way that it is, the bill was written and intended. And so TEA will actually implement those changes into their templates, probably be February, when we'll see what those numbers look like in our summary of finance. In the meantime, and on the front side of the whole process, we actually got a template today that is a projection template that we'll be using as our tool to guide us into that until we can get the official numbers.
And on the INS side, it'll actually protect us with all issued debt. So the 100,000 homestead exemption won't be in effect for the debt we've already issued. It's just future debt. So
yes,
that's good, because at some point in the whole process, it looked like it was going to be retroactive to existing debt, which would be completely inappropriate. That was fixed before.
Yeah, there was a last minute amendment that brought that date of existing debt forward, so that to capture all debt really up to this point that's been issued and really authorized. Unfortunately for our district, we don't have any authorized right now, but that was actually a good move.
It puts us in a difficult spot, but if we were 9 years ago growing, it would be incredibly bad. So these districts that are fast growth districts like us, but they have, 2/3 of their district left to build out, their capacity is being greatly affected by that increase to 100,000. So it's been difficult. We had 20% projected increase. We haven't run the numbers yet, but I think it'll fall in line, so that fortunately we did have that 20%. And of course, there were other things besides the 100,000, with the real property being protected up to 5 million.
Yeah.
5 million and less had a protection up to 20% increase, which shouldn't have a huge effect on us, because most of the time that doesn't grow beyond 20, especially for that property. So that's another thing. And then there's a few other tweaks in there as well that we're having to track too. So our financial advisors and others are having to put all these into templates to determine what's the actual effect on us. And again, on the M&O side, it's all protected. It's the INS side that we're having to watch.
Yeah. We should be good for where we're at, but it's going forward is going to be the challenge on the INS side.
I had just a couple on your general operating fund slide.
You bet.
What is the contracted services between schools? What's a new?
That number ties back to when we talked about the Chapter 49 recapture payment in regards to being generated off of our copper pennies. It's about a $1.3 million number. That's where it's represented in the budget, is in that contracted with other schools, because that money goes back to the state to assist other schools or provide services to other schools.
Basically a recapture, a redistribution.
I was just thrown off by the title of it.
I know.
So.
Well, it's kind of a funny thing, because for years, they've had you contract with specific to basically transfer to these other districts, but it's essentially, it should just say recapture.
They should.
Yeah, that would be a lot clearer.
They have a lot of, yeah,
That's
3 or 4
what it is.
different options, and yes, and so it's all basically recapture.
Yeah.
And then instructional leadership 21, that one seemed to be growing at a higher rate than the other ones. Do we know why that was? Almost a 10%.
Without the information from me right now, and the
200, that may be the principal at Eagle Mountain High School. You're front loading several administrative
That's true.
Is that what it is?
That could be
yeah, we
that.
could not apply that to the campus school leadership function at this point.
So it'll
that's it.
move to,
So
that's
it
why,
will
it's
move
a
that
classification.
That's, yes. So
I
that,
didn't account for all of that, but that's
that's a
130 or
significant
so
piece
right
of,
there.
yeah.
Well, but that would put it more in
Yeah.
line. Any other? Okay. And then you have another one for us as well? Okay, so do them together.
So.
No, the multi-year projection you're going to do.
So jump over here to next presentation. So with everything in, like I said, a lot of things moving right now in the air as far as guidance and implementation of where we're at with the recent action by the legislature in the second session. We've got just like, again, number of things moving, but right now there's still no mechanism to distribute the $3.9 billion that's appropriated for public ed right now. And so we wanted to show kind of a couple of options here, or just some of the things, and starting with where we are with current law and our current projection. And this is very similar to the numbers that we saw in the budget workshop back in June, just in this format, showing that without the additional funding, you see on the third row where our projected revenues over expenditures would be, and we're looking at multiple years of deficits under the current operating plan. Forecast for 2024, 2025, I'll note, does include the startup of Eagle Mountain High School, which is always, regardless of what situation the district is in, that's always going to be a hurdle to get over. And of course, we've been planning for that for several years without necessarily anticipating that we would see no action from our legislatures in support from a funding standpoint. So as we look at that, you can see where our forecast is by the end of the 2025-2026 year. We're with just, again, no additional changes to our operating plan, potential number of days of at 60 days of fund balance. But again, that's no legislative increases and no additional changes to our operating plan, which we still have opportunities that we can look at. And so if we, working with the Equity Center, who is our advocate on school funding, they have looked at several options for how to distribute that $3.9 billion dollars in appropriations. And as we've said all along, the best way to do that is through the basic allotment. And so they've provided a couple of scenarios and what that impact would look like for us. We've integrated that into this model so you can kind of see what the potential impact would be. Here we're looking at a forecast of if the basic allotment moves from $6,160, which is the current level, to a proposal of $6,455 that's applied to the 2023-2024 school year, next year, this upcoming budget. If they integrate that funding in, you see that we move to a little over break even under our current model. And then even moving forward, we're able to stay afloat. Now, mind you, 2024 and the 2024, 2025, and the 2025, 2026 models here, they do not integrate any additional adjustments to compensation. That is just, we're taking our current compensation plan and just pushing it forward as where we're at right now. And so that'd be something that we would want to consider. But even here, you can see there's some hope and it's manageable with that if they take that action. So the other possibility that they're looking at is instead of, and I'll move to the next, or the other scenario that they proposed, which would be instead of concentrating the basic allotment or spreading it across both years of the biennium, if we look at just pushing that out to the second year of the biennium being the 2024-2025 year, and if they distribute that at the basic allotment amount of $6,715, that's basically the same amount of money in those 2 years. It's just, but it sets our basic allotment at a level that makes a lot more sense for us in the 2025-2026 year. So going into that, we'd already be at 6,715. You can see there that that would put us in a better situation and put us back on target with a potential savings of our net revenues of $11 million. Again, before we do anything with compensation over the next couple of years, but that at least shows there's some workable numbers if they do the right thing with the 3.9 billion.
So the biggest unknown is if during a special session in most likely September, possibly October, depending, the governor said that he doesn't want to call that third special session until the Paxton impeachment trial is completed, so probably October. At that point, there'll be a fork in the road. Either we go a direction in which we have, an option of funding being distributed to us, which puts us in the position that you've seen enumerated here. Could be a possibility that that's combined with a voucher, which is what he's promised. There wouldn't be dollars without a voucher, which could have some effect that you won't see those numbers probably within the next 3 years, but probably more of a substantive effect over time and throughout the state. And of course, the other one is the first one, which is we get $0. And what do you do? Because obviously you can't go into a plan thinking in 25-26 we drop to 60 days of fund balance. That's not reasonable. Can't do that. So at that moment, and this is the reason why we haven't been jumping into this too quickly, is that we would have to look at additional budget reductions going into the next school year. And those would be much more substantive. We've been able to do that at this point through attrition and manage through that. And it's tight in ratios. And at this point, we would be looking at something more significant, such as what we experienced in the other early 2010s. We will not be the only one. Every district that I've talked to is running into some pattern of this. The numbers don't make sense. They're not sustainable. You can't operate a district when you're dealing with per student allotments of what we received in 2019. But I don't know if that news has gotten to a certain address in Austin or not, because this is not a guarantee that we're going to, there's actually not even any dialogue about distributing the 3.9 billion, excuse me. 3.65 billion would go to traditional ISDs, and the remaining amount would go to charter schools. So it's actually combined. When you're 3.9 and here 3.65, that's why it depends on what you're talking about. All public schools, including charters, or are you going to divvy it out between the two? So there's a lot going ahead, but one reason why we've been very careful not to go too quickly is we could sound the alarm, and then all of a sudden there's a special session and we are in a better position. So we are holding tight until we get a better, clear picture, which now the latest news we received again is October. That even puts us farther into the cycle of the year, which may mean the last half of the fall is going to be very busy in planning. So.
What would they allow us to do if they change this allotment? We've already presented a budget to the public, voted on it, and then set a tax rate. What are the expectations that?
One of two things could have happened. They could direct us through law that we had to expend those dollars in a specific way, such as a percentage of that going to teachers. And in the past, and I say teachers, but employees, but usually they say teachers is the term. And in that case, we may be in a situation where we can't take into an account the 3% that we already gave, or we may be able to account for it. We've seen it both ways. At that point, I guess it would be a budget amendment that we would bring forward at that moment. And the rest would roll over into fund balance until it was appropriated out into salaries or whatever purpose.
So just probably be a series of budget amendments?
Yes.
But the tax rate will have been set. We won't.
Yeah, the tax rate will be set.
Well, and it won't affect the tax rate because the amount of money being appropriated has already been approved by the state. So they've already factored into the 3.9 billion is already in their budget. It's in the appropriations. So the amount of money their compression, the amount of money they have available for compression is already there. And it doesn't count the 3.9 billion at all. So it doesn't affect their tax rate in that regard or even their combination. It just means those dollars roll over from a fund back to us. It just may come with strings. So they're going to want to get credit. So I'm imagining there'll be some direction of how to use those funds.
And really no, I mean, shot in the dark as far as what expectations, right?
Well, mine is my most realistic expectations is only what I can see and what I've heard and what we are not seeing and not heard. What we've not heard is any concern at the highest levels about the fact that virtually every school district in the state are going into fund balance or that we're based in all the things I just talked about. There's no conversation about that at all. What there is a lot of conversation about is the falsehood that there's not school choice or enough school choice in Texas. When school districts offer school choice, there's charter schools, there's all kinds of options. There was a great report that recently came out that showed the average private school is $14,000. And so $14,200. And that's just an average amount. And if you take into account that they're only talking about $8,000, if someone's in financial need, what's the likelihood they have $6,200 sitting around to make up the difference for that? And that's just not realistic. Not needless to say, all the other things we know, which is there's not enough seats, and the effects of before we even get to the effects of school districts, it just doesn't make sense by the numbers. And so we have provided information to elected officials to show that there's choice that already exists. There's a lot of choice that already exists. We had a student here earlier that goes to the HCTC by choice, leaves his home campus to take courses at another building. We have so many creative opportunities. I was a product of choice. I was bused from Northside to North High Mount off of 7th Street for a magnet school in 4th and 5th grade. That was a choice-based program. So choice isn't new. We act like we've just made that word up, but the realities existed forever in education. The problem is that who wouldn't want a choice, right? I mean, who would vote against choice? This is not about voting against choice. This is about acknowledging the fact that it already exists and empowering school boards to make those decisions versus having that come autocratically enforced upon us, especially when vouchers we know do not work. The numbers do not work. They don't make sense. The effects on special education children that would lose their federal protections in a private setting. The fact that private schools, and I've talked to individuals that lead private schools, they do not want state or federal requirements. So just to be clear, I know y'all know this, but just for anybody watching, this is not a public school district against private schools, not at all. We both exist for a purpose, and they both have meaning in what people want. But the reality is the protections of private schools should not want vouchers. It's only, I mean, are we surprised when there's a new mandate? No, we're surprised if there's not a mandate. So the reality is private schools just have to hold on because those mandates will start coming. You take $1, you're going to start having mandates come. So appreciate the soapbox for a moment. I know y'all are aware of this, but just for the record, those are the situations we're faced with.
So anybody that might be here or watching or something that cares about public schools would be open to potentially provide information as well to their elected officials.
We would, and we have tons of information if people would so choose. We are going to have to, as a state, to demand the protection of all options, including traditional ISDs that serve a purpose for every child that walks in the door. We deny no one. No one. And that is, we are the only institution that can say that. So it's worrisome that we would hurt an institution that takes all children.
Are there any other questions? Did you have anything else for us?
That concludes, basically our presentation. We're just going to have to continue to monitor where things are at. And we know we've got challenges. We've got challenges at the state level. We've got challenges that we can only do so much here to manage. And but we're going to do what we need to serve all students and keep our eye on the things we can impact.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Dr. Chadwell, and everybody, leadership team and folks that are working on all this to get this stuff in
Awareness.
a legible form for somebody like me, I guess, who maybe needs to have it put together a little better than in the ways it's coming out, which is, I would think, intentionally confusing probably to the general public, because if it were, in a more realistic format, I think there would be more people who might be questioning and potentially outraged.
Well, most don't realize that the reason why there's a surplus is that taxpayers have been overtaxed, and they've been overtaxed because we have no control over our M&O tax rate. Because we decrease it, what do? They decrease the state portion. So we purposefully received this surplus that now the state is lovingly going to compress. This would not be the issue if they were allow the local elected school board to manage the tax rate in line and keep our dollars local. And as we saw just in the budget just a moment ago, another $1.3 million leaves the school district. How many people paid taxes into that $1.3 million? How many homeowners contributed to dollars that just leave our school district forever? So the system, as you mentioned, is not clear for a reason, but also when they take the opportunity to congratulate themselves for compressing, they do not mention the fact that they've taken that power away from you to manage the tax rate in a way that in your career as a board member you were able to do.
Well, yeah, I think basically what they've got is a state income tax without calling it that.
Yes.
They won't ever say that. They'll never admit it, but that's what they've done.
Yep.
They have a state income tax.
There is not meaningful discretion in the tax rate anymore. There's about 9 cents difference in as it works now. TEA tells us what our tax rate is going to be before we can adopt it.
But they collect all the money from all these different sources, then reallocate it out. If that's not a state income tax, tell me what it is. Get all of our soapboxes now.
Well, going back to, we will, again, over the next, even starting tonight, we'll be reworking numbers. So over the next 2 weeks, we'll be sending out additional information as things move and as we move closer to getting notices to the public on our next steps. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, that concludes our reports, so we can move on to action items. And yes, that was longer, Steve, so it's good we moved that one. All right, our first action
It didn't take that long, you're right.
Our first action item is to act on electing designated a delegate and alternate for the 2023 TASB Delegate Assembly.
Since I burned a lot of my minutes earlier, I'll be succinct. I think we have an idea that we need to, or you as a board need to delegate or select a delegate and an alternate for the upcoming TASB Delegate Assembly.
Traditionally, that has gone to some of our newest board members to have an opportunity to experience that firsthand. So I would entertain a motion.
Appreciate the opportunity.
See who we want to make the delegate though.
I'll volunteer.
All right, I make a motion, Mr. Franklin is the delegate and Mr. Mabry is the alternate.
Do I have a second?
They're
A
not
motion
gonna second
from Steve and a second by Tim. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? We can still vote you. We'll get a majority without your votes, but. Any opposed?
Unified here.
Yeah.
And there are none. Motion passes, it carries 5-0. All right, moving on, we need to conduct a federal programs public meeting. Dr. Mary Jones.
Good
I'm going to
evening,
go.
President Ring, Dr. Chadwell, members of the board. At this time, I would like to present information on the federal programs public hearing.
I'm going to open it first. Okay. At this time, on behalf of the Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD, I declare an open hearing on the status of the federal programs currently serving the students' needs in accordance with state and federal laws regarding rules for school districts on reporting requirements.
Okay, we'll begin with our mission statement. We foster a culture of excellence, which instills a passion for a lifetime of continuous achievement in every student. And our federal entitlement for the 23-24 school year. Fortunately, this year we've increased in all of our areas. For Title I, our increase is $132,579 compared to last year. Title II, the increase is $109,905. Title III, $4,827. Title IV, $26,517. The Perkins Title I grant, $18,209. IDEA, $289,196. And then the IDEA preschool is $2,810. The Title I campuses that will be served for this school year, last year we had 12. This year we added 2 more. Hatley Elementary will be added in Comanche Springs. How we do that is we take our students that are enrolled and will be attending that school. We take them away from the campuses that were losing those students. So when they redid the boundary lines, that's how our enrollment for those campuses came. And we take the students that have the highest number of socioeconomic students, and that's how we serve those campuses. We don't serve secondary campuses because we feel like the money placed at the elementaries has our biggest bang for the buck there. Title I, Part A, obviously all of our federal funds are supplemental, and their goal is to increase student achievement and parent engagement. Title I, the majority of our funds are used for instructional coaches for literacy. Each Title I campus has a full-time literacy coach, instructional coaches for math. Some of them have part-time. Hatley will only have a part-time literacy coach because their numbers are going to be so low that they won't have enough funding to have both. Title II-A is used for staff development, once again, to increase student achievement. Once again, the majority of our funding is used for staff. We have 2 instructional specialists that are district-wide. We have 1 instructional math specialist that's pre-K through 5th grade. That's district-wide, and we have 1 middle school coach that we added last year that we will continue with it for Title II. Title III, that's our English language proficiency and academic performance. Once again, for our LEP students is real important, and the funding, once again, is used primarily for staffing our ESL coordinator that provides staff development to our teachers to help make these students successful. 50% of our bilingual coordinator who works with our bilingual campuses. And then our 2 parent liaisons. We have 1 that is a Spanish speaker and 1 that speaks French and Bengali. And both of these folks are paras, but they work with all of our parents on our campuses and do a fantastic job in getting our parents to become part of our school. And folks do use them to help them make their children successful. Once again, there's a lot of cultural differences, and these folks have lived it and know it, so they help our students and teachers and campuses tremendously. Title IV is used to provide well-rounded educational opportunities for students, again, to improve academic outcomes by having a safe and maintaining safe and healthy students, I'll get it right in a minute, and to improve the use of technology to advance student academic achievement. And our funds are used to fund our language academy that we have for our students and parents in the evenings, our summer STEM academies for our students, And then counselors for our summer school programs to help with the social and emotional support that they need. Title 1C, the Perkins grant, is used once again to develop more fully the academic, career, and technical skills of secondary education students. That again is used primarily for staffing. And then IDEA formula funds are used to increase the level of services provided for students with disability as a supplement to local and state funds. And once again, these are used predominantly for professional staff. And if there are any questions, I know Dr. Hughes is here to help you with the IDEA funds.
I appreciate the recap of the funds and their uses very much.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, the hearing is open to public comment. Please step to the podium if you wish to be heard. Any. So at this time, the district's public hearing on federal programs is now closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have set a public meeting to discuss the 23-24 budget and proposed tax rate. Mr. Welch.
I make a motion to set the date for a public meeting to discuss the budget and proposed tax rate on Monday, August 28th, 2023 at 7 p.m. and authorize the administration to publish notice with the proposed tax rate as required by law regarding this meeting.
Second.
I think that was Steve, I'm not sure.
Steve got me on that.
Okay. I have a motion by Tim and a second by Steve. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? There are none. Motion carries 5-0. All right, next, conduct a public meeting to discuss ESSER use of funds. Mr. Welch. And I've got a little something I'm going to read first. At this time, on behalf of the Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD, I declare an open meeting to discuss the district's ESSER use of funds plan and return to in-person instruction and continuity of services plan.
All right. So just to let you know that this is something that we are bringing forth every 6 months as requirements under the ESSER funding. And so this public meeting has just a few quick components. We'll run through these and very similar to what y'all saw back in January, just to remind us of the intent and purpose of the ESSER funding. It came under the ARP and the CRRSA Acts back in 2021, and we have our allowable uses of our funds, which were ESSER 3, ESSER 2, and the ESSER supplemental grant monies. Major categories: student learning loss due to COVID-19 and the safe reopening of the district during that time. We also had other key areas of retaining employees, operational needs, and teacher support during the time of the funding. ESSER 3 had a total entitlement of $13.2 million for the district, and we spent just under $8 million at this point. We have in the current year and a small balance into next year, a total of about $5.4 million remaining that we're currently working through. It will conclude, the funding will conclude technically September 30th, 2023. We have the rollover into the new year for the 2023-2024 year that will wrap it up. In ESSER 2, our total entitlement was just under $5.9 million. A reminder that about 4.3 of this was 4.3 million of it was supplanting state funding, and so really is only a net of the 1.5 or 1.6 million. So currently we have allocated and spent 2.6. We have in the 2022-2023 year, we have the $3.2 million that we are closing out and spending. And then there's the ESSER supplemental, which was a total of about $4.7 million. And again, at the end of last year, we had spent a little over $2 million, and we're spending the balance of the 2.7 million in the current year. Again, this is money that's been set aside for learning loss, and those monies have been distributed across the district into salaries for those that are working with students on a daily basis and addressing the learning loss. Proposed use of funds, we discussed there is a document that we have the information posted on our website under the ESSER grant program, and it provides more details on the range of activities that we have utilized in expensing these funds. The other part of the process is to point out the return to in-person instruction and continuity services plan. Again, just addressing this as part of the program requirement, even though we have been back in session in our buildings for several years now. But just to remind that plan is still out there, and it remains in place as we continue to work safely post-pandemic. And like I said, the information is out there on our website. We, as part of a public forum and to capture input, we also utilize the Let's Talk link on our main webpage as another venue for our public to provide any input that they would like into the spending and programming of our ESSER funding. So with that, that concludes the presentation for the ESSER plans and RIPIC's plan.
Any questions from the board? Okay, so at this time we will proceed with the public comment portion of the open meeting. Are there any requests from the audience to speak on this agenda item? All right, seeing none and no further presentation, I declare that the public meeting to discuss the district's ESSER use of funds plan and return to in-person instruction and continuity of service plan is closed. Okay, now we will move on to consider approving Gold Star Amendment number 2. Mr. Jones.
Excuse me. Thank you, Madam President, trustees, and Dr. Chadwell. So I bring to you tonight the proposed amendment number 2 from Gold Star, which represents their requested increase to their annual agreement with us. This exhibit, probably the format of this exhibit probably looks a little different than what you've seen with some others. There's 2 options on this. They're titled Option A and Option B, and the reason for that, if you recall, we've discussed a mobile app, a parent mobile app called SmartTag, and Gold Star has agreed to participate in offsetting some of those costs for that program. So the manner in which they were going to offset those costs would be through a reduction in the proposed CPI for their annual increase. So the 2 options that are spelled out on your exhibit. Option A is with SmartTag, and there is a next agenda item after this is talking about SmartTag. So, but the first one is with SmartTag, and if we were to go or decide that we wanted to move forward with that program, the CPI that Gold Star is requesting is 3.5%. That yields, comparing it to the year we just finished, as far as the increase in the total contract, that represents a little over $145,000 increase year over year. That's at the 3.5%. Option B, there you'll see without SmartTag, if we chose to not move forward with the program, then the proposed CPI from Gold Star would be 4.75, and that would represent an increase again year over year of approximately $239,800. So again, you always have the option, but this one it's a little bit more spelled out to where we have to decide whether or not we want to go forward with SmartTag or not, and then that will dictate which you have both amendments that we can move forward with and sign after this evening, so.
You feel like the smart tag, though, in your opinion, is the way for the district to proceed?
My personal opinion is yes. I mean, what a lot of the concerns that that are shared with us over the phone, in person, and are having to do with where's my bus, where's my child's bus. Luckily, thank God we haven't ever misplaced a child for too long, but this program would allow us the ability to more quickly track that student down. It's a very robust program that I think just overall for the safety of the students, that it does provide the means by which what we've been looking for as far as to being able to more quickly and accurately respond to parents. Obviously, we know that we're transporting the most important commodity, so when they call or have a question or concern, this program will allow us to more definitively give a confident answer.
And it's used in neighboring districts. We've got some data, or at least it's been used in districts already that's proven to be effective.
Yes, yeah, there's some of them are new. Northwest IC is just now implementing it, so they're doing a small rollout. But I've talked to other districts. Midlothian's using it, Arlington's using it. The gentleman at Midlothian had a lot of good things to say about it, that they were experiencing. It's not uncommon that you experience those types of concerns just in the transportation when you're using school buses. But they were experiencing a lot of the same things that we have in the past. And while this doesn't, I mean, it's not a cure-all, be-all, end-all, but it certainly is a tool that's what he called it. It's a tool that they're able to use as a resource to definitely take care of their students and their parents more effectively.
So my experience being on a bus during like route time, if I'm driving my choir students when other bus drivers are on route time, if they're trying to track a kid down, it's all done via two-way radio. Parent will call into Gold Star, the bus barn, and say, did my kid get on the right bus, or whatever the question is, not didn't get off the bus or whatever. And then it's just call the bus driver. I've always been really impressed that the bus drivers tend to know, all of their kids that are on their bus, but I'm also thinking, wow, this is, if they don't have the answers, then what's the next step? So have they talked through the process with you with Smart Tag, what that will look like now if we go with the Smart Tag? Sure.
That's a great example. So you're correct in that if that were to happen now, there's a lot of, it's just two-way radio chatter. It's somewhat controlled chaos, really, honestly. I mean, because obviously we're in heightened sense of urgency, but we have to start kind of going from where we are and moving backwards and trying to see, what they can find out. Smart Tag, the way that, if you'll recall, there's a badging on and off process. So the student will actually have a proximity card where they'll actually badge onto the bus. When I say badge on, they'll swipe. It'll actually put them onto the bus, and then when they swipe off, again, it'll tell them if they're trying to get off at the wrong stop, which, a lot of times if they're not paying attention, or even the younger kids, if they try and get off at the wrong stop, it'll actually give them an audible buzz, and then also a red X that says, this is not your stop. If they were, for whatever reason, if they did happen to get off for whatever reason at the wrong stop and it allowed them to, I don't know what reason that would be, but the system captures that. So if they call and say, hey, well, I'm looking for my student, we first obviously would check to see the bus. I mean, there would still be some contact with the bus driver, but we would actually be able, Gold Star would actually be able to look in the system and see that student is no longer on the bus, that they actually badged off at stop, whatever, at this street. So again, there would be, obviously, we would still have to go and locate the student, but it definitely narrows the scope of where we're actually starting. It'll actually tell them, okay, he got off at Old Decatur and, whatever. And so it gives us a better starting point to hopefully shorten that period of time that student is misplaced.
Or in most cases, the parent would just go onto the app and see that their child, where their child is. An atypical thing that occurs at elementary, and I'd ask Dr. Arnold to interject if she would like. It doesn't have to, but if she'd like to. But a typical thing is that the child is supposed to get a ride home with the parent or somebody else, or be a walker, and then they get on the bus. And then the parent's like, well, they are a bus driver, but I was supposed to pick them up to take them to the doctor. Then they start panicking like any parent would. Where's my kid? Then they call, and if they hit at a peak time, the response could be less than instantaneous. And so immediately you go from worried to panicking because I don't know where my child is, and we were supposed to go to the doctor, they knew it, and so forth. With this, they'd immediately go to their phone and going, why is Jimmy on the bus? I told him I'm going to the doctor. And they immediately can rectify their confusion and their difficulty. And that is a real common thing that occurs because kids forget. Oh yeah, this is Tuesday. I'm supposed to wait for my parent. And so there's those factors, and the other are just delays, because sometimes you hear delays or you hear something that there's been a wreck and you don't know if your kids, oh, they're on 156, my kid involved, and all those kinds of things in which people all of a sudden start calling Gold Star all at once to get information, and they can only talk to one person at a time.
And how real time is that information on the bus? So the log on and off would be instantaneous, right? Because that's in the app, but where the bus is actually located, how are they getting that information? That's live?
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's as close to real time. I mean, they don't like to say it's real time because they'll say near real time. But yes, it will put them on the bus. The good thing is actually it's another, I mean, not to get too far off on a tangent, but as it adds students to the bus, it's actually another way that they do a child check also, because as they get off and they badge off, it decrements those riders. And so at the end, if the driver thinks, okay, well, I'm done with my route, but at the top of their tablet, it's still showing, well, no, you still have one student on there that never, badged off. So then at that point, they can see who the student is, they can do their check. And then they, that whole thing, if that student, for whatever reason, if they were kind of behind another student or whatever and got off without badging off, that type of thing. But it's near real time, so it's a good resource.
There's a legal requirement to check the back of your bus after your route.
Yes.
But a human is checking, and that human could be, I saw Ron get off. I know he got off, but they're wrong. So they go through not being maybe just as diligent as they should. You have a kid maybe fell asleep on the floor, but that system would be another saying, but this says this. And so as they check the bus, they would even be that more diligent. Not that they shouldn't be anyway, but it just adds another check in your mind saying something's off here. This doesn't look right.
Yeah, and unfortunately right now with the situation that our district and many other districts are in with the shortage of drivers, I would love that every driver be able to drive the same route every single day, and they know their kids. I think it's good for the students, and it's also just that positive. Hey, I know you. There's a comfort level there. Unfortunately, we have to use a lot of sub drivers, and so they may be obviously they're Gold Star employees, and they maybe have been there forever, but they just don't drive that route. So all of those students are new to them. So that when they badge on, it also shows a picture of the student. So, I mean, there's also a visual part of it as well. And so, like I said, I don't want to mislead to say, yeah, I mean, this is the greatest thing ever and it's going to fix all of our problems.
It's an improvement.
It also maps their route. And so, now I use Apple Maps a lot, and I think, remember when we used to use MapQuest? We're going through the grids. I'm like, that's not near as safe as Siri telling me to take a left unless Siri's wrong. But just this system will be a lot more automated for that driver, because we've heard of that situation, the sub driver getting directions from a kid saying, that's not the right way. And then the driver has a choice. Do I listen to the kid that lives in that neighborhood, or do I follow this? This makes a definitive pathway. And then also a lot of times what we have with sub drivers, and this is a pattern, when sometimes a kid is getting off on the wrong stop, they tell the driver they're supposed to get off there and they're not. And so this system would immediately catch it and say, you're not supposed to get off here. Because they want to get off at that stop with their friend or something like that. So it just allows, it puts some redundancies in place that will help us.
Yes, sir.
This is probably a question for Rob, but can you tell us, so what did we assume in the plan, in the budget?
So in the budget right now, we have just the amendment without smart tag. We considered smart tag an enhancement, and in our cost saving measures, we did not advance any enhancements into the budget model. And so we'd be looking at about $185,000 to add smart tag into the budget.
Rob, however, the original was not 4.75, it was 5.8. So did you put the 5.8 or the 4.75 in the budget?
We put the 4.75. So we have the 240 in the budget. And so the 185 would be the net additional needed to add smart tag.
So you adjusted it since last month because they came down from last month. They were at a higher percentage last month.
They were at 5.8 last month.
Yeah, we had a placeholder early in the process, and ironically, it's about what their number ended up being, but yes, we did have a placeholder earlier in the process in anticipation. And that's sitting, like I said, it's about 240 is where we're sitting.
Well, I make a motion to approve amendment number 2 with Gold Star Transit using option A, amendment number 2 for Gold Star Transit, which proposes a 3.5% CPI increase for the 2023-2024 school year.
Second.
I have a motion by Tim and a second by Steve. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? And there are none. Motion carries 5-0. And that means we will also do the next action item.
Quick question to follow up on that. On the, I guess the tags, the actual tags. We said those are separate tags, right? Then there's school ID.
Correct. They're it's very similar in appearance, but yeah, same thing, proximity card.
And we'll start out with, if this next item is approved, then we would start with a rollout, not with 100% of every school on day one. We want to make sure we would roll out steady before we go full implementation. Secondary obviously will be trickier than elementary in that regard, but if you want to ride the bus.
Is that something, just a logistical thing too, thinking about kids and losing tags and stuff like that? I know there was a cost in there for
replacement of tags, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So some of that's lumped into there, I guess, to a certain degree.
Yes,
right?
they would have to, we would have to build in a system where they would be charged to replace their tag.
But we potentially have actual physical tags where we would just program them, or Gold Star would, I guess, maybe on site, so a kid could, it's not
We would have that, right? We would
2-week
actually have the
process or something. Does that make sense? Kid loses it one day, so they don't have to wait, now they're gonna have it.
And don't I remember from last month that the bus driver can, if they're missing their card, the bus driver can actually log them.
They can manually load them on, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to action item F, if we wanted to consider approving the Smart Tag mobile app. If I had a motion on that.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Steve and a second by Blake. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? There are none. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to Ms. Eckert. Consider approving the student code of conduct. And I remind you, this was a report earlier, so if we...
I make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 student code of conduct.
Second.
A motion by Tim and a second by Ron. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? And there are none. Motion carries 5-0. And that will bring us to our routine monthly reports. Was there any questions on the routine monthly reports?
I asked Rob from the foundation to please get us a balance sheet. All I gave us was an income statement. He said he would, just as a matter of point.
Okay, we'll send that in the update, so you'll have that before the next meeting.
Okay, anything else? Okay, then let's review the board planning calendar. Dr. Shadwell.
Yes, on page 316 of your packet, you'll notice that we'll continue with budget. We're in that season, including property and casualty insurance policies. If we receive information, as soon as we receive information, we can send to you. We'll send you information. We're obviously projecting an increase in property casualty insurance, but we won't know that until that data comes in. We also have the demographic report for the second quarter, 2023. New course proposals, that probably feels a little bit early because it is. We're trying to move some of that up in the planning for the next school year, just for the planning purposes, curriculum development and so forth. Also under action items, all the budget items, setting tax rate, accelerated budget, all those. And also, again, that policy is going to come fast. For our new board members, property casualty insurance, all that data comes in between this meeting and the next meeting, but it's got to be approved at the next meeting. So it's kind of fast and furious and a little bit stressful because there's a lot of negotiation, but not a lot of time at the board level to be able to do an analysis and come back with tweaks and things like that. So we will send that out to you, and it'll have things in there that will highlight, for example, if there's been any modifications to deductibles to try to decrease the overall cost or any of those things. So we'll send that to you and try to send as much explanation as possible. So it's not, I feel sorry for y'all when y'all get this because it's just so much and it's sometimes hundreds of pages, and y'all need the clip notes to follow it. But if y'all have questions or thoughts on that, please don't hesitate to reach out to Rob or to me.
You gave us 381 pages of reading this month.
I did. You're welcome.
It's a lot of reading.
That's all. That's all I have.
That's it? Okay. That moves us to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion there?
Move we approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Okay.
I think that was Blake. I have a motion by Steve and a second by Blake. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? There are none. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, that brings us to board president's announcements. First, I would like to, I'm sure a lot of you saw this on social media, and we'll do something more formal at a later date when the process is over, but I did want to recognize our superintendent as being selected as the Region 11 Superintendent of the Year. If we could that process will continue on up to the state level, and we're anxious to see how he fares in that.
I'll try not to embarrass us.
Wonderfully well-deserved honor. Yeah.
Thank you.
And then also in your folders tonight, you had several things to RSVP with for Kim. You had the possible dates for Team of 8, and then the TASA TASB convention date and the BLK dinner. So you can make sure you turn that back in to Kim. A couple of things that are coming up that are the superintendent recognition of giving. That's July 27th at 8:30 if you're planning to attend that. And also the back to school bash is August 5th from 9 to 12 at HCTC, which is a wonderful event if you have a chance to stop in for any of that. And I think they're putting backpacks together the night before, which is also fun to do too, if you are interested in helping with either of those. And then just a reminder, next month we will be taking a new board photograph before the meetings, if you all can be here at 4 o'clock for that. And then TASA TASB convention is the September 28th through October 1st. Look forward to seeing you all there. That's all I had.
All right, I have more dates too, and thank y'all very much for that. It's an honor, and anyway, I'd like to talk about it. Thank you very much. July 26th, we have the Maintenance and Custodial Staff Appreciation Lunch. This has become kind of a tradition. Get together with all of our maintenance custodial staff and have some barbecue. So if you can come by, it's 11:30, Chisholm Trail High School cafeteria. Also next Monday, the 31st, we have new hire orientation, and I'll be presenting to the new hire staff. And Dr. Barnes, what time does that start with mine, 8:30?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I start at 8:30. If y'all can come by, I'd love to introduce y'all. And if you don't want to stay for the whole thing, you've heard me talk before, be happy to just introduce you at the beginning so their new teachers can see you. Busy hiring people, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them next week.
Monday, you said?
Yes, sir. Yes, Monday the 31st. And then we also have the special board meeting. Facility Planning Committee will be presenting to you at 6 o'clock on August the 15th. We also have the Athletic Hall of Fame banquet is on August the 26th. I believe that's a Saturday at 1 o'clock in the Hollenstein. And then also August the 29th, we have the Elizabeth Lopez Hatley Elementary dedication and ribbon cutting at 5 o'clock. So lots of action. So it's been great. Just kind of finish up. We've had really a good start of the year with all of our training. The Inspire to Aspire great group last week with our principals. Just some really great training over 3 days. And also today the room was filled. Kirk and Cindy and their teams were leading training for teachers all over on technology. Really impressive to just watch all that and just see the enthusiasm. So we're busy getting started. We had coaching school last Thursday all day. So for all practical purposes, everybody's kind of back, so we're getting ready for the first day. Dr. Barnes?
Just an update on the back to school bash. Normally we do pack all the bags the night before, but Amanda Towns and Kathleen Eckert have designed it to where we're going to now do that on Thursday night.
Okay.
So that gives us time if we need to go purchase.
Okay, good
That
idea.
gives us an additional day. So the packing, many of our churches and community members are coming together that Thursday night from
6 to 8.
Yeah, and thanks for saying. A lot of our churches are putting backpacks together. Dr. Barnes and I and a few others are going to be at Lake Country Church on Sunday as they dedicate the backpacks and have us there. And we have a number of church organizations and other organizations that are busy putting those together. So we're very, very thankful for all these partners to make this possible for our kids. It's a community coming together, and we couldn't just be more thankful for people and their giving and their support for our kids. That's all, Madam President.
All right.
Madam President, seeing there's no further business to come before this board, I would like to make a motion, we adjourn.
Do I have a second? A motion by Steve, a second by Ron. All those in favor? We are adjourned.